You're listening to the Live Out Loud podcast with River Wynn and Michelle Flamer.
Hey Quincy, how are you today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's really nice to meet you. I'm sorry that River can't be on this episode with us, but she is doing a little solo adventure this weekend in Denver.
Oh my God, how fun.
I know she really wanted to meet you, and she's like, "Can she come back?" I'm all, "Oh yeah, she'll totally come back."
Oh,
She's
yeah. We
yeah,
can talk about something else next time.
oh 100%. So Pod Squad, it's a little different episode today. I also wonder if we should do a trigger warning
Hmm.
based on me being a mom. Quincy lost her son 16 years ago. And if this is some type of trigger for you, then maybe this is just the episode that you just passed today. So I just want to let you know, and I will put it on the show notes for sure. But um, tell the Pod Squad, usually what we do is have you share a little bit about yourself. So why don't you tell everybody at the Live Out Loud family a little bit about you?
Well, short of having a really odd name, I have two amazing daughters, and one is very old and one is very young because they're 21 years apart, and they're amazing. And one of them, the older one, thank God, has two little ones herself. So I play a lot of roles. I am a mom to a little one, a middle schooler. I'm a mom to an adult who has her own two children, which is a whole totally different relationship. And my parents are still alive. So
Mm,
I've got a lot of roles that I play, not on a weekly basis, thank goodness, because that would be a lot. Mostly I'm just regular middle school mom. I have a podcast of my own called Cocoon After Dark.
yes, you do.
I run a coaching company during the day and I help parents reclaim the chaos that they've lost, and specifically with LGBTQ parents.
Mm.
And I also am in the middle of developing a SaaS product for affiliate marketing and an app for calendar app.
I wish you were like not an A-type personality or anything, right? Like I wish you were just chill in life and kind of looking for that like easy ride.
Nope, always got to be doing something.
I think you might be actually a generator, in fact.
Yeah. Oh, I totally am.
I know
Right?
you really are. No, for sure. I want to first thank you for coming on today. And thank you for like trusting me and trusting us with Josh's story. And so maybe can you just tell me a little bit about who he was, what gave him joy? I mean, I'd love to just learn more about him.
Oh my gosh. Josh was born to me when I was just shy of 22. So I
Mm,
was very young when I had him. He was just an easy, I mean, he came out the chute like really quick and quite violently, actually, which sort of ties into his end of life because he died quite violently as well. But he was just so much fun. He never cried. He was a quick learner. He was lovable to every person in his life, just cuddly. He would go and spend the night at friends' house, and the moms would say, "Oh my God, can he come back? He's such a great guest. He puts the toilet seat down. He clears his dishes. He asks to be excused."
you're all
Like,
winning. You're winning at mom life at that point.
right, right. He wanted to do Boy Scouts and he wanted to play Pop Warner and he wanted to be a skateboarder and he wanted to be a gamer. Like he was
Mm,
the typical little boy that every mom probably wishes that they had, right? But
mm,
still, like very sensitive and caring and sweet and not just a mommy's boy. Like he loved his dad and he loved his grandma with a passion and he liked to hang out with his grandpa. So he was an everybody's kind of kid. His teachers loved him. He
mm.
was whip smart, but he did not like to do his homework. So he was such a math brain that I finally had to say to him, son, if you don't do the homework, which is 50% of your grade, and you get A's on every test, what are you going to get in the class? And he goes, a D. And I go, yeah. So you might want to start doing your homework. And from then on, he did his homework, but it was like he didn't think he had to. He didn't want to read. He'd never read. And then one day he said, "Can I read Goosebumps?" I'm like, "Dude, you don't even know how to read." And he's like, "Yeah, I do." I'm like, "If you can read a Goosebumps book, then you can buy as many as you want." So went one day from not reading at all to reading chapter books, like just that kind of kid, you know.
Goosebumps
That's who
is
he
so
was.
cool. Such a fun place to be in those stories.
Right. They were funny stories.
What do you remember most? Like, does anything significantly pop up in your head around him throughout a week? Like, does he pop up like every day still? Like when you lose a child, the way, and I know you're going to tell the story a little bit, but it's like, how do you manage? Like, as a mom myself, I just, how do you? Is it because you have other kids? Is it like what allows you to just literally walk the earth at this point?
I definitely space at this point. It's been 16 years. It was 16 years in August. It helps, but also knowing that I had other people to live for, right?
Mm,
I had another daughter. I have my parents. I have nieces. I have friends. And I remember going to like my first support group approximately 3 weeks after he passed away. And it was a support group specifically for moms who had lost kids to any sort of thing. It could have been cancer, what have you. And I sat down and I was, after all the introductions, because everyone else introduced themselves first. And then as the newcomer, I was the last person instead of the other way around. And, these ladies were, I'm 9 years, I'm 6 years, I'm 7 years, I'm 8 months, I'm, on and on. And as they went around, I was like, is this going to be me in 7 years and 9 years? Like, I
mm,
don't want this to be me.
yeah.
And so, like, I very quickly realized that I needed to get through this as fast as I could, but
Yeah.
in a way that made sense to me. So that looked like basically declining lots of invitations to do things because everyone thought I looked like I was okay.
Mm,
I tried to have conversations like I was okay, but when I wasn't having conversations, I was crying. Like I was literally crying.
mm,
And I just used like the ceiling as sort of my therapist before I started actually going to therapy. I would lay there and the only constant thing was watching where the seams of the ceiling met the wall. And I would just
mm,
follow my eyes all around, all around. And then I'd go the opposite direction because I could lay in my bed, which felt safe. I knew
mm-hmm.
we don't live in Oklahoma or anything, so I wasn't worried about the ceiling blowing off. But it was the only constant thing that could keep me from thinking about anything else because I
Mm,
had to focus on keeping my eyes. So very early on, that was the only thing that basically would get me through some days was staring at the ceiling.
yeah. I mean,
As
I
horrible as that
still,
sounds.
yeah, it's so unfathomable. It's like, because grief is so personal too.
Mhm.
We all grieve differently depending upon where we are in our life and journey and how we grew up and all these things. What helped you to move through the grief? Did you use modalities, therapy? We talk a lot about spirituality on our podcast, and it's like, meditation and grounding and all these things that I don't know. I don't know if I would just want to numb myself for months at a time, like I kind of did with my dad. I mean, I can't even imagine like what that feels like, with a child.
Well, I definitely did do a lot of partying at the beginning, only because my friends thought that's what I needed. Like they were like, get
Mm,
her out of the house. Let's go to this place. Let's go to this, whatever. And that would help. But then, within, I don't know, a couple of months, I was like, this isn't helping. Like, I don't want
yeah,
to go. Plus, my eyes were swollen, or I just didn't
sure.
feel like getting dressed, or like whatever it was.
Mhm.
And, so I went to a psychiatrist and she gave me Wellbutrin because I started getting to the point where I was like driving on the freeway to drop my daughter off at school. And I would be driving and all of a sudden I would think, how long have I been driving? And where am I going? Like I couldn't
Wow,
remember if I was supposed to get off on this exit or
sure.
that exit or what I was supposed to be doing. Like, and this was only when I was by myself. Would
Yeah.
this happen? When I was with other people, I was very trying to be very
Or
aware of
with your
what was going
daughter or
on.
whatnot.
Yes.
Yeah.
But when I was by myself, your brain, when you're grieving, and I learned this from many, many books I read in the first year of
Mm,
grieving, what happens is your brain takes over in this way that it makes all of your major organs work properly. And because it's working so hard to keep you alive, you lose your memory. You literally lose your mind
yeah.
because it takes so much energy to keep a grieving person out of danger because you just don't have your wherewithal. You can't remember
Yeah.
conversations. Like I would sit there and someone would have a conversation with me, somebody that I love and adore, and the same thing would happen. How long have they been talking? What did they say? Did they say anything? Was I supposed to answer? And I would just keep trying to figure out where I was going and what was happening to me. So I went to a
Yeah.
psychiatrist. She gives me Wellbutrin, which does help. Like I couldn't remember a phone number. I couldn't remember a grocery list. I couldn't remember
How does
anything.
Wellbutrin work? I don't know a lot about medications and stuff. I'm just fortunately lucky in that way, but
So it helps definitely with like short term sorts of depression
mm,
type episodes
okay.
for what I needed, right?
Right.
That's what she said it would be for. How it works for the rest of the population, I have no idea. But for
And you
my,
don't take it, do you take it
no, no,
anymore?
no, gosh, no.
Okay. So it
No.
really is for the period of time that you're needing this to like function.
Well, and I didn't know that that's what it would be for when I started taking. I literally
Gotcha.
thought it would just help me from going insane because
Gotcha.
I couldn't remember anything.
Yeah.
So, like if you said, oh, call this number, 818
Yeah,
269
yeah.
9920, I'd be like, eight. And then I
Wow.
couldn't remember what you said after that. And I
Yeah.
would look at the number and I would look and I would literally have to look 10 times to write down something. So it immediately, probably within a week-ish, it started helping with very short-term things. But then my hair started falling out.
Oh,
I was
wow.
like, no. I mean, I know it's falling out because of grief. I know it's falling out because I'm not eating regularly and right, but this is like advancing the process. So I called her and I said, "Hey, my hair's falling out. This last thing I need is now to look like I feel. I don't
Yeah.
want to look like I feel, which is
Yeah.
like complete bag of crap." So I just said, "I'm going off of it." And I stopped it. So I think I was on it for maybe 6 or 9 months and I never went on anything again. And the rest of the time, I just used lots and lots of reading about other women that had lost children, that had lost multiple children from car
Mm,
accidents, illnesses, and things like that, and thought, okay, this isn't so bad. This isn't so bad. And I just kept thinking, while my story feels like it's the worst, it's not the worst thing that ever happened on the planet,
mm,
you know?
mm,
And it kept me grounded because I had people around me that checked in on me every day, sent me a
mhm.
text, like would come over. I could call and text them and say, I need you right now. Please come and sit with me. I don't want to be alone, that kind of
I
stuff.
love that you had the wherewithal to ask.
Hmm. I
I think
had to
that's,
ask.
yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of people are like, I'm coming over there. And you're like, I really want to be alone. Like,
Mhm.
I love that you just kind of were able to check in with yourself and know what you needed. I think that's really amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
What, do you want to tell us about how he passed in that night? Because there's I have
Yeah.
questions for like,
Okay.
yeah.
So when he was in eighth grade, he tried pot, I don't know, a couple of times.
Mhm.
And then after that, he didn't really do anything for a couple of years. And he told me this. This is why I know it's not my guess. He told me. And he got invited to go to a farm party, which most people have or have not heard of, but it's farm with a PHARM,
Oh,
not
like
with an F.
okay,
So
pharmacist. Okay.
pharmaceutical
Yeah,
parties.
pharmaceutical.
So what happens is, and I tell everyone this, please lock up your drugs from everybody because it could be a babysitter, it could be a house sitter, it could be a friend that comes over. They take your meds, a few from this bottle, a few from that bottle, a few from this bottle, and they go to this party and they throw them in a bowl. And then the kids take them out and they look up whatever the number says on the pill or whatever, and they decide to try it. So Josh was like, hey, yeah, I'll try this. And he takes it out and he's like, does anyone know what this is? And another kid looked at it and said, oh, it's Oxycontin. He said, oh, okay, cool. Pops the pill. And he tells me later, Mommy, as soon as it hit me, I knew I was hooked after
Mm.
this one pill. And I know that, the dare tactic that Mrs. Reagan set up years and years and years ago was to make people afraid of this. But I'm going to reiterate that one pill and he was hooked. And
Wow.
he used for about 8 or 9 months, he said.
Mhm.
And then he was coming off of it. And I now know when he was coming off of it because he kept throwing up and having diarrhea. And I was like, what is
Wow.
wrong with them? Mom, I'm so sick. I'm so sick. Well, had I have known, had he been able to tell me then, what he told me later was that he was coming off of Oxycontin, I would have had a lot more empathy, but I didn't have empathy. I thought he was faking wanting to go to school, things like this. And it was awful. It was an awful
How
experience.
how old was he during this moment, during that time?
He was 17.
Okay.
So he stayed off of it for, I think what he said was about 4 or 5 months. And then that pull was so strong because he did it on his own, right? And he was still afraid to tell us that he was addicted,
Mhm.
that the second time that he started trying it again, it was worse than the first time, that he couldn't stop. And it went so far that he was stealing. He was in parking lots,
Wow.
opening car doors. Please lock your doors. He said, Mom, you have no idea how many people don't lock their car doors. Lock your
Wow.
doors. And they would take laptops and wallets and like whatever, and they would sell them. And that's how they would get their drug money. And we had always told our kids, if you're going to try drugs or anything, or do anything where the law gets involved, we can't help you at that point.
Mm.
So think about it. When the law is involved, our hands are tied. Like our
Yep.
hands are completely tied. So the law got involved. And he was incarcerated several different times. He tried to commit suicide. And one of the last times he was incarcerated, the DA at the time, who ended up being a total squeal, I don't even know, that's not even a word, but like she ended up getting in her own trouble because
Mhm.
of some other things. But she was insistent that this 19-year-old child by now should go to prison
Mm.
for stealing, basically, and using drugs. We all know that people that are stealing for drugs and things like that, they don't need prison. They need a lot of mental health help,
Mhm.
right? They
Mhm.
need therapy. They need to get clean. They need to stay clean. They need more therapy to get through it because it does rewire your brain, right? You have this feeling on Oxycontin, on any opioid, right? Of relaxation and power and friendliness. And, you can have a conversation with people and you get a good nap but it's only short lived, right? And then you take more and you need more and you need more and you need more. And it
Yep.
becomes a very expensive habit. It's worse than
Yes.
cigarettes. It's worse than drinking because it's
Yep.
so lethal and so
Yeah.
expensive and so hard to get. So the way you
Mhm.
get it is obviously you also use heroin. And I never thought I would be in this place. Like it just wasn't ever in my head. So we lied a lot about where Josh was.
Wow.
Oh, he's at camp. Oh, he's working at this job because we didn't want people to know he was in jail. It was so embarrassing, so
Gosh.
incredibly embarrassing. And my husband at the time, I was married to a man. And even though I know I've been gay since I was 10,
Yep.
I was married to my best friend, and he was the chief of federal probation in the city where we lived.
Wow.
And so people knew him. They knew of me. They didn't all know me, but they knew my name, which is very unique, right, Quincy?
Totally.
And one day I was coming actually from the courthouse after talking with my son's lawyer, and these two women were talking behind me about me, and they had no idea it was me.
Whoa.
And they were saying things like, oh, she abandoned her son and she's such an awful mom and he's here doing all this stuff by himself, like just horrible, horrible things about me. And I just kept walking and I walked straight to their office, which is also where my ex-husband, he was my ex-husband at the time, ex-husband worked. And I went straight up to his office and I walked in the door, I closed it behind me and I started crying. And he's like, oh my God, what happened? And Josh is still alive at this time. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, it's not Josh, don't worry. And I said, but so and so and so and so were walking behind me when I was coming from the courthouse and they were talking shit about me. And I need you to know. And he was livid. He was
Wow.
absolutely livid. So
I love that he was protective of you, though. That was
oh,
lovely.
100%. I mean, we're still very good friends,
That's
very, very good
amazing. I
friends.
love that.
Um, but it was such an embarrassing time. And it took me a long time to even tell people how he died. I kept
Yeah.
telling them that he died of an accident. He died in a
Mhm.
tragic accident. It was horrible, and I don't want to tell the details. And that's what I would say because it was just so incredibly
But it is
embarrassing.
kind of an accident in the
It
scheme
is.
of things, right? Because
Yeah.
it's like these kids don't know when it's going to be their
No,
last time that they're
they
taking
don't.
this shit.
Yeah.
Fucking pisses me off that it's
Yeah.
available.
Yeah. And so the DA was, going back to the courthouse scene that was later on after this incident. She was trying to advocate for prison, and I was there advocating for a house for 25 and under kids to go and get clean and work and,
Mhm.
go to school and what have you. And the judge sided with me. And he got sent to this house, and it was June. It was actually the same day that Michael Jackson died because I was driving to Woodland Hills and there's helicopters flying everywhere and everything. And I'm
Yep.
like, what is going on? Well, come to find out later, it was Michael Jackson had passed away. But
Accidental as well.
yeah, accidental as well from drugs. So in August, the end of July. So he had to be there for about 30 days before he could have visitors. We could talk to him on the phone and things like that. So I would talk to him pretty regularly on the phone. He did not want to talk to my ex-husband because I think he had gotten to a point where he had hurt his dad so badly, he didn't think that he could forgive Josh.
Hmm.
And Josh and I had spent a lot of time behind, a very thick window and a phone in
Hmm.
while he was in a jumpsuit. So we got a lot more opportunities to sort of rebond through this and for him to tell me things that I didn't know and what had happened and things like that so that I could be like, oh, well, this wasn't our fault. This was totally him, and he would say, I'm sorry, mommy, I love you so much. Like all of those things. So it was actually very healing to spend that time with him, as embarrassing as it was to drive up
Yeah.
to the kids' jail
Yeah.
and
No,
get out
I've
and
never been
sign
to any
in.
of those places, so I can't even imagine.
I literally made a voice recording of myself the first time I was there. And I said, I am not the kind of mom that's supposed to be here. This is not where I'm supposed to be. And I'm not saying that other moms are supposed to be there either,
Right.
but this came out of literally nowhere.
Yeah.
We are not drinkers. We're not drug addicts. I mean, my husband was a federal probation officer. He was the chief of probation, which meant he had extremely high security clearance. And you cannot get that unless the people around you have that same
Yeah.
like lifestyle because they come
Yep.
and interview you. Trust me,
Yep.
as you know, being in law enforcement. So he called me after we had had a visit in person and we had gone and got massages and he needed some stuff to Target and we went out to lunch and things like this and he calls me and it's a Friday afternoon and he says, "Mommy, I can't stay here anymore." And I said, "What do you mean you can't stay here anymore?" And he said, "I just can't. I have to get out of here. I need to leave." And I'm like, "Son, please don't. Grab a basketball, put on your bathing suit, go jump in the pool, do something. Tell your counselor." And he's like, "I already talked to him." And I said, "Okay. So what did he say?" And he said, "He's saying the same things you are." And I said, "Well, don't you think the two of us probably know what you need versus you thinking that you just need to leave?"
Yeah.
"No, mom, I can't do it. I can't do it." And I'm like, "Son, just hang up, go swim, and come back to me." I said, "Getting in the water will get your senses back." I mean, he was born and raised in San Diego. Water is part of his life.
Totally.
No, no, mom, no. And I said, "Okay, all right, give me," his counselor's name was Darius. I said, "Give me Darius and stay right there." So Darius gets on the phone and I said, "Darius, I'm sorry, I think Josh is bolting. Do me a favor, get his wallet out of the safe and make sure his
Mhm.
ID is in there because if something happens, I want whoever finds him to be able
Mm.
to get in contact with us." So that was
Wow.
on a Friday.
You were thinking
And
that way already.
you have to know. I
Yeah.
mean, you gave birth to this person, right?
Hmm.
He's bared his soul to me over the last several years,
What a
and
gift,
especially the
Jeanette.
last few months. I have to think forward. I need to think about what could possibly happen.
Hmm.
And he died that night, according to the coroner. They didn't find his body until Monday. They didn't ID him or even find the card of my ex-husband's office in his wallet for a couple of days. So what was left in there was no money, no credit card or ATM card or anything like that. It was just his driver's license and his dad's business card. That was all that was in his wallet. So
Wow.
whoever he was with took everything from him. I don't know if he had that much money on him, because when I heard he was missing, I drove immediately to the bank and closed his bank account. So I don't know how he was able to get money, but he they found him on Monday, and then they called us on Wednesday and said, "We found your son." And you just try to hold it together after that, you just do.
Who, like, God, like what? Like after those minutes, like you get that call.
Hmm. Well, the call happened with our daughter, and
Okay.
she was applying to a bunch of different schools. She was going to be a senior that year. So we
Okay.
were finishing up basically our like college look at tour. Where are we
Wow.
going to go?
Yeah.
Where is she going to go? Whatever. So when the call came through, we were at Harvard. We were in the middle of Harvard Yard
Wow.
on a tour. The phone rings. I look at my phone. It's her dad. And I look at her and I go, "It's daddy." And I walk away and I don't even say anything. I literally just open the phone and he goes, "They found him and he died."
Jeez.
And I look at her and she starts crying. And I'm like,
She knew just looking at
yeah,
your
yeah,
face.
she knew. And I go, "Okay, I'll call you later." And I just hung up the phone
Mm,
and I took her by the arm and we just started walking. And I didn't even like tell the tour people or anything. I was like, we just started walking and she's crying,
yeah.
she's crying. And the first person that walks by, I'm like, "Where's the chapel?" For whatever reason, I thought we needed to go to the chapel. We could be
Mm-hmm.
alone on the chapel on
Yeah.
campus.
Yeah.
We walk into the chapel, we sit down in one of the pews, and she is sobbing and sobbing. And I have tears running down, but I can't cry.
Because
I'm
you
just
have
like, I
you're having to be
cannot cry.
strong in the
Yes.
moment too.
Yes. I'm like, we are in Massachusetts. We live in California.
Yeah.
I just found out my kid died.
Yep.
How do you do this?
Yeah.
Literally, how do you do
That's what
this?
I'm wondering. How did you do this?
So
It's like,
that night, she had met a ton of kids at camp the summer before, not the summer before senior year, but the summer before junior year. She went on this month-long camp where you build wolf dens and you rock climb and whitewater raft and do all these different things. And she was gone for most of the summer. And she met a lot of kids from the East Coast, and they all knew that we were coming to Massachusetts to look at schools for her. We'd already been to um, Georgetown, we'd gone to GW, we'd gone to Connecticut College, like a bunch of different schools.
sure,
And this
you
was
were
like our
really on
last
the
stop.
tour,
Yeah,
right?
we'd been to Yale, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So I say to her, "I don't want you to cancel your plans for tonight. You need to go and be with your friends, because there is
Right.
nothing we can do right now. We can't fly
Right.
home tonight. Like, we
Right.
can't do anything. We have to stay here. Go be with your friends. Talk about it if you want to, or don't
Mm-hmm.
talk about it if you don't want to. But if you don't want to go, I understand. But I really, really think you should go and be with your friends." So this is in the morning when we get the call,
Wow.
like 11. The dinner with her friends isn't until like 5 or 6.
Yeah.
So we decide to walk back to our hotel versus taking a taxi from
Yeah.
where we were at Harvard. We were on the other side of the Charles River is where our hotel was. So I had to figure out how to get over there. So I'm just doing all of these mental games, right?
Mm,
How do you get back to your hotel knowing your kid is dead, trying to
yeah.
keep your daughter from falling apart? We get to the hotel. She takes a shower. Lay on the couch. I mean, I'm laying on the bed and I call my best friend and I said, "I can't talk to you right now, but Josh died. I'll call you later." And she goes, "Oh my God." And I said, "Yes, I'll call you later."
Yeah.
And so my daughter finishes taking a shower. We get in a cab. We go to where the friends are. We meet all the friends. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, hi guys, nice to meet you. I'm so sorry I'm not staying. I have some things I need to do. Carly, have a really nice time with your friends. Call me if you need me." Um, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I go around the corner and there just happened to be a van cab sitting there with the door open. And I walk up to the cab and I fall into the cab
Mm,
sobbing. And the guy
mm.
looks at me and I happen to have the card for the hotel and I hand him the card and and he goes, "You want to go there?" And I'm like, I shake my head yes. And I'm sobbing and I'm sobbing and I'm riding in this cab and I get out and I'm like, oh my God, I have to call my parents. I have to call my girlfriend at the time. I mean, like, how do you do this? How do I get home? How do I plan a funeral? How? And when your kid
Mhm.
is addicted to drugs, you know that this call is coming and you have prepared for it to a certain point, right? But
Mhm.
once it finally happens, what do you do?
Yeah.
Because it's not like you're buying their casket. You're not doing things like you would do for an elderly person or even somebody that has a terminal illness. You plan much differently for
Mm.
things like that than you would for a child. So, my friend, thank God, she did everything. She got me tickets home. She planned the funeral. It was at her house, it was at a Catholic church that we had attended on and off for like holidays and things like that. And that's our life just started over, basically that day in Harvard Yard.
Thank you for that. I mean, it's unimaginable in my mind as I'm thinking about my child right now, and it's hard not to. I'm sure other people will, and they're listening. How do you keep his memory alive? I mean, obviously, I think you told me there's some, comes to you. I mean,
Yeah.
we talk about spirituality, right? And
Hmm.
there
He
are
will.
some things you don't know until you are face to face with kind of that knowing, that spiritual knowing of that connection is still to this day pretty solid. That
Mhm.
time that you had with him in life, those
Yeah.
last, years where you had deep connection with him and you were able to understand a little bit more of where he came from. He was a little more of a truth teller at that
Hmm.
point with you. And how do how do you see him day to day and or talk to him and, have that communication?
Right. Well, I mean, when you have lost everything, there's no point in not telling the truth anymore, right? So he could tell me everything. So I
Yeah.
spent that time with him. And then I was the last person besides um, his his counselor that saw him alive.
Yeah.
So, and we had such a nice day that when the coroner said to come and ID him, like fully ID, even though they've already ID'd him, I refused to go.
Yeah.
And my husband was like, no, you have to come. You have to come. And I said, no, I don't. I don't. That's not the part I want to remember. What
Yeah.
good is it going to do for me to see this happen? So they kept him at the morgue for 7
Mm.
days because that's about the
Wow.
time that they could keep him there before
Yeah,
they
because you
have
were
three
still
days
on your
left.
trip and coming back.
No, I was home by then, but I still didn't want to go. So they kept thinking, she'll change her mind. She'll change her mind. She'll change her mind. And I never changed my mind. So all of my memories with him are these just sad, but still much healthier memories than seeing somebody.
Wait, so who went to at least
So
identify?
my ex-husband went and his
Okay,
best
good.
friend went.
Okay,
Yeah, one
good.
of his best friends went. Um, so Josh started coming to me in dreams about 3 years later, and he kept saying, Mom, you should have a baby. You should have a baby. You should have a baby. And I was like, hell no, I'm not having a baby. Like, who has a baby in their 40s after you've already had kids?
Hmm.
And I remember when John Travolta and his now passed away wife had um, what's his name, Jet. And I thought to myself, they're crazy. Why did they replace their other kid? You know? And then I did it. And I was like, I'm crazy too. Like literally, why am I doing this? Why
Right.
am I starting all over from scratch? So I made a deal with him because he came to me several times in a dream. And I said, if I'm doing this, the kid has to be a girl. It has to be 100% healthy and it has to work the first time without drugs, or I'm not doing it. I am not
Yeah.
doing it. I don't want to not try because I don't want to at least know that I didn't make the effort, especially because you've been pretty insistent on coming to me in dreams regularly saying I should do this. And I
Yeah.
don't want to deny your sister the chance of actually having another sibling.
Hmm.
So some friends of mine had just used this reproductive endocrinologist in Santa Monica. And I called her and I said, hey, I want the name of your endocrinologist that you used. And I said, I'll tell you later. Um, because I didn't want her to know why. And she gave me her name. And I went to her and I said, here's my story. and I want to have another baby. And I said, but I don't want any drugs. And she said, well, I can probably get you pregnant, but I won't be able to keep you pregnant unless you do this.
Mm-hmm.
And this was be bedridden for 5 months. And I'm like, 5 months? And she said, yes. And there's one other thing. You cannot tell anyone you are pregnant except for your daughter and your girlfriend, because we don't want people going through grief with you again, because it sounds like it's already been quite traumatic. And I said, yeah, it has. And she said, how do you feel about that? And I said, I feel fine. Because in my mind, there's no way I was going to get pregnant the way I said I was going to. Literally, I was just doing it to say
Right.
that I did it.
And you totally fertile myrtle.
I totally freaked out when I actually got pregnant the very first time with no drugs. And it was able to keep the kid. She's 12 now, and
No drugs.
amazing. And yeah, no drugs. I mean, the only meds she had to
He
give me
literally
was,
picked her out for
yeah,
you.
yeah, picked her out for me. The only medicine I ended up having to have was the HCG to make my egg drop,
Yeah,
so that
yeah,
when we
yeah,
did the
totally.
insemination,
Or the
that it
trigger.
was
Yeah.
already there.
Yep.
So it was meant to be. So once he made us this baby, he kept coming to us for this baby. Like, she would
Mm.
be running around her room or running around the living room, and she'd go, I just saw my brother. Or
Oh,
she
wow.
would be like, I'm talking with my brother right now. Or she'd just start talking, like babbling, and looking out the windows, staring at his face and cooing and having these really odd sort of interactions that I already knew by this time, because when I'd been babysitting since I was around 8 and
Yeah.
already had 2 kids and raised them till they were, at least 18,
Yeah.
I knew this wasn't like the typical newborn or even
Yeah.
toddler behavior. There were things there that were different.
Oh, for sure.
And so even now, yeah, he flips on the lights. And multiple houses that we lived in, he will turn the TV on and off, and it'll happen like regularly for a few days, and then it doesn't happen for like a few weeks or a month or
Sure.
something.
Yeah.
So, but he doesn't really come to me in dreams as much anymore. He's just more present. His ashes are in our house. They travel with us from house to house. We put stickers on his box, where
Mhm.
he's at. When I die, I will also want to be cremated, and we're going to be mixed together.
Oh, I love
And yeah,
that.
then the girls can decide who's gonna get mom and Josh. And
And where would you want to be scattered, if at all?
no, we don't want to be scattered.
Okay, just
Yeah, yeah,
held close
held
and
close.
mixed
Yep,
and meshed together.
yep, yep,
That's a pretty
exactly,
lovely thought, actually.
exactly. Yeah.
What have you learned about yourself in this journey?
That when people said you'll come out stronger, that you actually do. And it
Mm.
sounds like the biggest, biggest, biggest bunch of bullshit. But when
Right.
you realize that you woke up every day after that, that you are stronger. Just waking up the next day,
Hmm.
that you eventually get to the point where you don't cry every day, where you get to the point where food does taste good again, where you get
Hmm.
to the point where things are pretty. You still grieve yourself. You still grieve the person that you were before, because you know this pain in
Hmm.
a very
It
different.
changes your DNA.
It does change your DNA. It
Hmm.
absolutely changes your DNA. It changes the way you react to other things, the way
Yeah.
that you prepare for other things, the way that you don't make things a big deal. And it also prepares you for that anyone that dies after this, minus my other 2 girls,
Hmm.
is nothing compared to that. Like
Yeah.
nothing compared to that. But it scares me for other people that might have to go through that same thing. It scares me to death that if I'm close to you and you have to go through this, I don't think I'm going to be a very good support person. Like, honestly, that's what
I
scared
mean
me
that.
through relationships since he passed away, was I probably
Mm.
won't be a very good girlfriend when your mom dies, your dad dies, because your pain is going to be so painful for me that I'm
Yeah.
going to want to run away.
I can tell you from that experience, losing my dad and like, out of the blue during on 20 in 2020. And I remember in the moment, I remember when my ex-wife came downstairs because I made some weird shrieking noise because it was just like I couldn't believe that he had died. My stepmom called me and it was like, wow, I've never felt pain like that. And I've had a little bit of loss, over the years. And I remember my ex-wife coming down to me, and I didn't really want, I think because of where we were in our relationship, but I didn't really want her in that moment. I wanted my friends. And actually the weirdest part of all of it is I almost just wanted to be left alone in the moment where I needed to just deeply let it sit in so that I could try to wrap my head around this pain of losing who really he was like my best friend, he's my
Mm,
buddy. And because my mom's on both sides, my stepmom and my mom had had one of my brothers, they had their person. My dad was mine.
mm,
And it changed my DNA so much that that is part of the reason and the catalyst for why I got divorced
mm,
because I wanted to live like through him because he and my stepmom, soulmates, had
mm.
the most amazing relationship that in their 70s, hot for each other.
Oh my God, how beautiful.
It is. And my dad would literally, we'd be in the pool and he'd look over at Mary Jane and go, I get to like sleep next to her every night. Like,
Oh,
she's
that's
my
so
best friend. Like, I
cute.
heard for 40 years, she's my best friend. She's my best friend. And it was part of the reason why I got the divorce, which is why I know instinctively it changed my DNA in that moment. Um, when do you feel closest to him now? Like that
I
he's been gone a
actually,
while now, but
yeah.
I know it's still
Yeah, in 3 years, he'll be gone as long as he was on this earth.
it's
And that's
crazy to
really
me.
hard to wrap my head around.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure year 19 will be a whole new, like, reawakening, rebirth, and a whole new grieving process. But I feel closest to him when my younger daughter and I talk about him
Hmm.
because I know that he's sort of talking through her
Well,
too.
he brought her to
Yeah,
you,
yeah. And she'll
on a
say,
5D plane. Like
yeah,
he
literally.
was there with her,
Yeah.
just being like, hold on, wait till you get to meet her. Like,
Yeah.
wait till you get to meet this one.
It was so, so, so precious.
Mhm.
But, she'll say, I wish I could have met him. I wish that, I knew what he was like and, all those kinds of,
Is she similar to him in any way?
no, mm-mm,
Okay.
no.
He listened to you then.
Yeah, he totally listened to me. Like
Yeah.
no one can say, oh my gosh, she is like her brother. She looks like she's anything, like nothing.
And I want to go back real quick around you not being a good girlfriend for somebody else because, or a good, like a support system for somebody in in that realm. And I think honestly, if they know your story and you're able to say to them, like you kind of just said, like, just so you know, if some big stuff happens around death and passing, I may not be the best person in that moment. I'll be better, a month later when everyone or never. Okay,
No,
yeah.
no. So it's not the moment that it happens or the days and week after. It's that long term where you can't. I'll want you to get over it like I got over it. I
Ah,
want
gotcha.
you to move through this so we can have our life together like it was before.
Right.
And I know that your experience will not be like mine. You may never recover from this. And I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to be in that situation. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
So I think my last relationship ended 2 years ago, and some of my apprehension of getting into another relationship with somebody that is my age or older is if your parents aren't already dead, I might not want to be in a relationship with you
Mm-hmm.
because I don't know what I'll do when I see you not being able to pick up the pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even know how the girlfriend that I had at the time stayed with me as long as she did. And some really bad things happened during that time that I
Sure.
know now. So she wasn't actually with me.
Yeah.
Um, and she was doing some pretty bad things, including drugs. And I was like, how could you even do that when you know my son just died of a drug overdose? Like, it doesn't make sense
Yeah.
to me, you
Yeah.
know? Um,
But first, I want to tell you that
mhm.
hopefully the person that you are wanting to be in a long-term relationship with and you get to ride those moons and ride the months and the years has a support system because they're healthy
Mhm.
people that
Hopefully.
they might hope, yeah, well, hopefully you're choosing, the people that have support. Like maybe that's part of your asks. Hey, what are your friendships like? Hey, can they be there for you? And like, and understanding these people before you get, truly down the romantic plane. Because for me, it wouldn't be a deal breaker in that sense because I have the best support system and front row. And I've never even thought about even thinking about this as even until the moment that you just said that I might add that to like, hey, just so you know, if you go like who, that kind of thing. I don't know if I don't think it's a deal breaker for the right person, is what I want to tell you,
Mhm.
basically. Yeah.
I actually don't have any hope for it. I
Yeah.
don't, unless, I
Yeah.
hope, honestly, I hope that I meet somebody that doesn't have a relationship with their parents at all, or they have beautifully passed on.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
I
would
get
be
that.
ideal for me.
Yeah, I get that.
Because I just don't like it scares me. And that's
Yeah.
probably some unresolved trauma. But I also know that if one of my other daughters dies before I do, I'm doing it by myself
Yeah.
because it's the best way for me to get through it is to do it by myself. Call you when I need you, but I won't have people around constantly and don't bring me food and don't like
Yeah.
don't just let me
Mm-hmm.
be how I need to be. If I want to
Yeah.
cry, if I want to go on a run, I don't run. Go on a walk. Who am I lying to here? Go on a walk. If I want
Right.
to, drink a bottle of wine that day, which also is not like me, but if I want to, no one's there to judge how I grieve. I didn't even want my parents around me because I
Wow.
didn't want them to see the pain that I was going through. So I very much kept my parents out of what I was going through because I just didn't want them to grieve their only grandson they ever had. They have a great grandson now, but that's 30 years apart from having a grandson to a great grandson. Um, I just didn't, there were certain people I just didn't want involved in my grieving process.
That
And
makes so much
now I
sense.
know that I don't want to be involved in
Right. It's sadly, you now know this process
Mhm.
for you and like
Yeah.
what you need out of it. And like, are you surprised by your own strength through this process?
No, no, definitely not. Because I had a lot of traumatic experiences when I was younger. So this sort of just goes into play with it. And sadly, my son wasn't the only grandchild for my grandparents to die. Many of my grandchildren died before he died.
Mm.
So it was almost sort of a pattern. And I had seen, I'd gone to funerals of children over and over and over again. And I'm talking, 18 and under children, not just
Mhm.
little children, that I just had to be one of those people, but you look in your grandmother's eyes and you look in your aunt's eyes or you look in your aunt-in-law's eyes and you have a certain amount of like embarrassment for it because of the way that it happened. It wasn't like he died from leukemia or
I
something
know.
like this.
I know.
Like there's there's a lot of
To me, it's all tragedy,
embarrassment.
though. We shouldn't be burying our children. I mean, that's really, what I heard for years in my, Jewish family. And is there anything like, I don't know, like if someone is going through this right now, I'm sure you've been asked this before, but like, is there anything that you could extend to them to like look at or say or that might help their process?
Gosh. I've answered this question before, and mostly I say you have to have faith that you will get a chance to get to the door to go through this. But you
Hmm.
have to make your way to the door. The door is your goal. And that door can be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles out, or it could not be that far out, depending on how you grieve. But you have to look for the door, and the door will literally save you. When you get to the door, you have to open it and you have to step across the threshold.
Hmm.
Just yesterday, I went for a colonoscopy screening, and they're
Yes.
like, yes, you need to have one. I was like, okay. But the lady that was scheduling me happened to be a recovering street addict.
Wow.
And she was amazing, like absolutely amazing, like death's door street addict for 20
Mm.
years. For the last 11 before she got clean, she was living on the streets.
That was not on accident, by the way.
Was not on accident that we met yesterday.
Mm.
Because you and I had talked the day before.
Mm-hmm.
And then I talked with her yesterday, and I knew today we were going to be talking about this.
Mm.
And I told her that and about going through the door, and she said 100%. It also happens the other way around for somebody that's using. You have to
Mm.
get to that door because you're dying slowly.
That's
You have
right.
to make it to the door. Open the fucking door, step through it, and close it behind you as fast as you can. And don't look back. Just don't.
Yeah.
Keep going forward because so many other people love you and care about you. Having someone die and and I'm not going to say overreaction in a bad way. I'm going to say overreaction in that you drag people down with you as you're grieving is the same as someone who commits suicide. And I want to say it's the same because the person that commits suicide doesn't realize the people that they're leaving behind and how much pain they're going to have.
Mm-hmm.
When you drag people down, and this is completely unintentional when you're going through grief, when you're dragging people down, they're getting destroyed as much as you're destroying yourself because these people love you. They care about you. That's why they took someone else and not you. They
Mm.
took someone else, and you are here to teach, to share, to love, to grow, to do something else with your life, to share their life in a different way, to share their story in a different way, to remind people to tell their kids. Because I met a lot of women in my support groups that I would go to afterwards that lost children from not wearing helmets,
Mm-hmm.
skateboarding,
Oh,
riding their
so many.
bikes. So I
Ski
continually tell
accidents. I
people,
mean, people bump
yes,
into, they fall into trees and die
mhm,
from head
yes.
injuries.
Yeah. And I'm like, I have been in rooms with women that have lost their children to playing in their front yard,
Yes.
riding a bike. Please
Yes.
make sure your kids wear helmets. So it's just, that's what I would say. Get through the door.
Is there
Close.
anything important that you feel like I missed that you wanted to share, that you would like to share?
Um, no, if you think you want to have another baby after this happens, or adopt a child or something like that, or get a pack of dogs, that's for you to decide and no one else. Don't let them
Yeah.
shame you into thinking that you don't need to replace a life with another life, because sadly, you always lose something when you gain something, and vice versa. There's always something that has to give, right? In order to get out of a divorce and move in to meet somebody else, you have to leave that person. It's just how it is. In order to lose weight, you have to give up sugar. In order to run faster, you're going to have blisters on your feet, and sore legs. In
Yep.
order to have better vision, you got to wear freaking glasses.
Hmm.
Whatever it is. In order to have better skin, you got to, spend
Have a routine,
25
right?
minutes having a routine every night instead
Yeah.
of just getting in bed with makeup all over your face
Mm.
or dirt or whatever. So there's always pain with gain.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Well, I'd like to dedicate this episode to him, of course.
Oh, thank you.
I think we should. And is there a parting thought? What do you think he would think about you talking about, like, do you think he enjoys that you're talking about him and kind of keeping his memory alive in a way?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. He loved his grandmother, both
Mm.
of his grandmothers. Actually, he loved his grandma and his great grandma, and then a lot of other like matriarchs in our family, but those two in particular. So I know that he would like play in their jewelry boxes and do all these different kinds of things that like kids do or whatever. But I know that he liked listening to their stories. So I'm
Mhm.
sure he likes listening to the stories that we tell about him
Mhm.
because he wanted the truth to be out there. He wouldn't have told me, you know,
Agreed. I
and he
really do
wouldn't have
believe
called
that.
me when he was leaving if he didn't want me to keep remembering him. He
Yeah.
would have just left and not have said bye and not have said I love you or anything like that. He would have just gone.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Mhm.
Well, thank you so much for just your time, your
Thank you.
articulate storytelling around him. And I feel like I know him a little bit now, and
Yeah.
it's kind of cool.
Oh my God, he was so cute. He had the best dimples. Oh, so
Oh,
cute.
God, I love dimples. Oh, they're so sweet. So thank you so much for that.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
If you enjoyed this episode today, be sure to subscribe and share because what do we say, baby?
Sharing is caring.